So the NFL draft is really sneaking up on us this year, man. We are 14 days away from the NFL draft. I'm filming this right now at 8:29 p.m. Eastern time. So in just a little over 2 weeks, the Jaguars will be making their selection at pick number 24. Now, really, this is unfamiliar territory for the Jaguars. I mean, one reason why I say that is because really for the first time in like probably my whole entire life, I'm going into this year like knowing that the Jaguars have their answer at head coach and quarterback. In years past, I have talked myself into pretty much both of those positions, saying, okay, we're going to be good. We got to get wide receiver, offensive line, running back. We got to get all this, and that. And then quarterback is going to be amazing. The head coach, he did some good things this year. He's going to be all right. But, now I'm going into it. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool because we know that we have a solution at both of those spots. And, it's really hard to find that. Another reason why this is unfamiliar territory is because the Jaguars don't have a pick in the top 10 this year. I mean, we're used to picking so high. I mean, last 2 years we picked number 1 overall. We've started off the draft. We've picked 2, 3, 4, 5, all over the place, man. I mean, 14 out of the last 15 years, the Jaguars have been picking in the top 10, which is just pretty terrible. I mean, that's pretty terrible stuff. And I think it's also unfamiliar territory for me personally because this is the first time, and I don't know how long that I haven't been just really, really excited for the draft. Now, of course, I'm excited for the draft. I love football, love NFL. I think the draft is a really, really cool time of year, but I'm not like overly excited counting down the days, looking at all these different mock drafts this year. And, I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think one, I used to really get prepped for the draft in like late October, early November, because the Jaguars usually that time are like 1-6 or something, and we're so far out of it. Shots are dead. And I thought this year was probably going to be the same thing. I mean, we were 2-6. I was starting to pull up tankathon.com, seeing where we were in those, in the not so power rankings when it comes to draft order. But then it quickly turned around against who did we beat the first time? The Raiders, where we started, a little bit of a winning streak there. And then the Ravens game happened, and then, sweeping the Titans. It was an awesome, I don't need to go back through it, but it was an awesome, ending to last year. And so, yeah, like I said, I used to be ready for it in November. And then another big reason why I don't feel like I'm that excited is because in years past, when we've been so bad, I was looking at the draft saying, okay, this is how we're going to get good. Like the Jaguars are so bad, but if you look at all the great teams, what are they doing? They're drafting really good players, and that's how they're becoming good. And I was just so hoping for, like last year, 2022, just such a fun year as a Jaguar fan. And that's all I mean, we didn't even go to the Super Bowl. We won a playoff game. We had a decent record, 9-8? Like, we were barely winning record, and it felt like the most amazing year ever. I mean, it wasn't even that great, and it feels like something awesome. And the Jaguars haven't been able to come close to that. I mean, in years past, when we've been losing, we haven't even been around like 800. It's been like, or 500. It's been like just double-digit losing seasons, and it's been awful. And I said, okay, like, we suck, but look, we had the number 3 overall pick, get a good player there, and boom, it's going to solve everything. But now that the Jaguars seem to have a pretty good nucleus when it comes to head coach, quarterback, coaching staff, just role players, surrounding players, it feels like we're in a pretty good spot where now I'm not sitting here like, okay, I'm looking at this draft as our saving grace. It's not like that anymore. And it's pretty awesome. I ain't gonna lie, it's pretty awesome. So, but with all that said, the draft is still super important. Look, the Jaguars have plenty of roster needs right now, and the draft. I mean, the draft is important for every team out there. Whether you're the Kansas City Chiefs, whether you're the Eagles, where you're just in the Super Bowl, or if you're the Carolina Panthers and you risked it all to trade up to number 1 overall to hope where they can hopefully get their quarterback, or whether you're the Houston Texans, where they're feel like they're kind of now making the turn for better, where they had the number 2 pick. They have another first-round pick from the Deshaun Watson trade. That's really where the good fortunes are going to come. And that's where, right now with the draft, it's the most important time for player acquisition, much more important than free agency, much more important than, anything, trading for a guy, anything. So, yeah, let's get into kind of a Jaguars draft blueprint, really from, I guess, my perspective. Now, going into this draft, I think we have a little bit more question marks on the roster than I would personally like. And we'll go through it all. Really, the only untouchable positions, I think, for the Jaguars at pick number 24, positions where I'm like, there's no way a player at that position is going to get drafted at that spot. It's going to be quarterback, it's going to be running back, and it's going to be like an inside off-ball linebacker. I mean, those three positions, I just don't see the Jaguars spinning a pick at. Now, when you look at the other positions, look, offensive line, major need. I mean, right now, when it comes to, we don't know who our right tackle is going to be. You're going to have to kind of put either Cam Robinson or Walker Little in an unnatural position. Interior offensive line, you always need to get better. Can we upgrade at left guard from Ben Barch? Our right guard, Brandon Sheriff, is only getting older. We feel like we have a pretty good center. Shout out to Luke Fortner for playing all games last year as a rookie. Pretty cool that we had that kind of pick last year. Interior offensive line, like I said, tight end. I mean, the Jaguars only have 3 tight ends on the roster last year. They play a lot of 2 tight end personnel. There's some tight ends being mocked to the Jaguars at number 24. Tight end is definitely a big need for the Jaguars. Wide receiver, another spot, because look, while you look at the roster, you see, okay, we're good at wide receiver. You always have to look at the future of the roster, okay? And right now, the Jaguars are pretty old at wide receiver. I mean, you look at it, and I don't mean like old, like aging. I mostly mean old as in like we got a bunch of contracts. You know what I mean? Christian Kirk, big contract. Zay Jones, pretty big contract. Calvin Ridley, we're probably going to need to give him a pretty big contract. So, at some point when you look at the roster, you say, okay, we got a little bit too much money allocated at wide receiver. I could definitely see a wide receiver potentially going at pick number 24, just so we can say in the future, okay, next year maybe we can save some money, cut bait with, Zay Jones or something like that. Really just open up the roster where we're finally young at that position, where we're not having like, however much percentage of our salary cap allocated at that spot. And then you have a guy that you can really, build on for the future. And when it comes to defensive line, we need interior guys, we need edge guys, we need all kinds of guys. Cornerback, especially slot cornerback, nickel cornerback. I don't think any of us are excited that Trey Herndon is currently slated to be the starting nickel cornerback. And then safety. I mean, of course, right now, Rayshawn Jenkins and Andre Sisco, but if a really good tight or if really good safety is there, then you can't really turn one down. And I think at the end of the day, free agents are always replaceable. I mean, guys that are on big contracts are always replaceable unless they're unless you have an Aaron Donald on a team or something like that, like just a true like best player, top 5 player at their position. I think it's always replaceable, especially when you can find good value for cheap in the draft. But these drafts are really kind of where you find those replacements. So the Jaguars going into this, man, we have 9 draft picks going into this 2023 draft. We have the number 24 overall pick in the first round. We have 1 second-round pick at pick number 56, 1 third-round pick at pick number 88. We have 2 fourth-round picks at pick 121 and 124. No fifth-round picks. We have 3 sixth-round picks and 1 seventh. So, yeah, 9 total draft picks. Now, and looking at mock drafts, it's hard to really predict what we're going to do. In the past, we're used to mock drafts where there's like 3 players getting picked. I mean, last year was like, okay, Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson, Evan Neal, and the guy that went to the Panthers. It was like 4 guys, so it's pretty easy. Now it's like, now it's almost like funneling out. At the bottom, there's this many possibilities, and as you get over, you have this big group of potential picks. So some common names I've been seeing in mock drafts are safety Brian Branch, defensive lineman Kalia Casey, cornerback Kelly Ringo, Interior offensive linemen, Osiris Torrance. Tight ends, Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer. Defensive tackle, Brian Breesy. Offensive tackles, Anton Harrison and DeJuan Jones. I don't know a lot about these guys. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not a big, I don't know these different draft prospects. There was a time where I used to do it, and I quickly realized that the NFL community is just loaded with draft guys, with draft prospect guys that come out with their ratings. I got a first round grade on this guy. I am grading this guy number 14 in my total. There's so many guys out there like that. Look, I'm not going to be able to give you that kind of insight. You can go elsewhere for it. There's plenty of guys that'll do that. I'm just here to talk Jaguars because I love the Jaguars. Okay. I'm just like you. I just love my Jaguars. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So yeah, like really when I look at this, man, my draft strategy going into this draft, like I really think that the Jaguars need to kind of go after big men. I mean, I think at this point when I'm kind of an old school football guy in a lot of senses where I really think that, the game of football is run through the trenches. I really think that, look, if your offensive line dominates their defensive line, and if your defensive line dominates their offensive line, there's a great chance you're going to win the game. There's a great chance. I firmly believe that. So I want to put ourselves in a position where we're able to do that, because right now I look at offensive line. I feel like both at offensive line and defensive line, we're very top heavy at each position, meaning that I like the starters, but when it comes to if we start racking up injuries, we don't have a Walker Little waiting to jump in there at left tackle anymore. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have Arden Key backing up guys anymore. Now I feel like the depth is a lot thinner, at these spots. So I would really go after, okay, let's go after some big men. I would go after big men, guys like that. So, when you look at the Jaguars last year, we lost what I think was our best offensive lineman with Jawan Taylor. At least he was the best in 2020, in 2022. So we lost him. We replace either Walker Little or Cam Robinson will replace him at right tackle. And then we have Josh Wells as our backup swing tackle. We also lost Smoot. We lost Arden Key, or we didn't really lose Smoot yet, but we're losing his production right now. Him and Arden Key combined for a lot of sacks on the Jaguars roster. And you also look at it, and Josh Allen going into a contract year, no telling if the Jaguars going to be able to renew him. So when you look forward, when you look at 2024, what do we have? We don't have a lot when it comes to defensive line, especially. So I think the Jaguars almost need to revamp some spots and just bring in some big guys, over there to be able to, supplement. And I think we also need to find a solution at cornerback, because like I was saying earlier in the video, we're going to have Trey Herndon running out there as our starting nickel cornerback if the season started today. I'm tired of the name. I'm tired of the number. I think the guy he should just like cut his dreads and change his number so he looks like a new player out there, okay? Because I'm tired of watching Trey Herndon chasing guys downfield because he's too dang slow. But hey, I'm not here to bash on anybody. I'm just here to say we should try to find a solution at cornerback. And that's one reason why there's a lot of cornerbacks being mocked at number 24. Now, from what I'm hearing, it might be better to wait on quarterback because there just is a lot of cornerback depth. So Trent Baalke, find your traits guy, find your guy with long arms, your speedy guy, and see if they can, because you got Tyson Campbell. Tyson Campbell fell to the second round. And why was he in the second round? Because he had some knocks on him in college, mainly when it comes to him not being able to locate the ball. And we saw that in year one. But in year two, he quickly turned that around. So we need to find guys where it's like, okay, your only knock is that sometimes you don't turn your head around quick enough. Go after guys like that where it feels like fixable traits. I'm not going after a guy that has amazing ball skills, but he's slow as heck. You know what I'm saying? Like go after favorable traits. And, another thing I would do is, day 3 traits over tape. Like I said, man, I kind of do like Trent Baalke's approach when it comes to going after like traits because, look, day 3, I feel like it's been forever since we've really found a gem. I feel like we were doing that a little bit in the past, but, like we had Telvin Smith on day 3, we've had some finds in day 3, but I think it's about time we find another guy that all of a sudden it's like, boom, this guy was a 6th-round pick. How did he fall that far? How did nobody know about this guy? I think the Jaguars, let's try to do something like that. So, overall, those are some of my draft strategies. Now, like I said, man, the Jags really do feel like we're in an awesome spot right now. We got our head coach, got our quarterback. We have an amazing coaching staff where it feels like this coaching staff really elevated everybody last year from the level of play they were before. A bunch of positions were the same and a bunch of guys were just playing better because of coaching. We have playmakers, bringing in Calvin Ridley is going to be awesome. I feel like this offense is going to be a real NFL juggernaut. We're in a terrible division, which is also nice because, we could very well in 2 weeks see that there's 3 new rookie quarterbacks in the AFC South, and it's going to take them a little bit of time to get acclimated because we got big boy T-Law on our side, okay? Look up to him. And, those are all good things working for us. Now, the work doesn't stop here. Like I said, man, the Jaguars need to, once again, nail a draft out of the park. The ways you stay good are, having a quarterback or having a head coach. But overall, if you're not drafting well, you're not going to stay up. You're going to end up like Matthew Stafford for the Detroit Lions, where it's like they have a good quarterback, but they can't do anything around him. Right now the Jaguars, in 2021, we had a draft where we had Trevor Lawrence, we had Travis Etienne, Walker Little, Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco. All those guys greatly helped contribute to our 2022 playoff run. But in 2020, the Jaguars drafted CJ Henderson, Caleb Von Chason, and Chenault. And, the following 2 years, we were drafted number 1 overall in the draft. So, yeah, like, you got to draft well, got to stay away from that danger zone. And overall, go out there and do some good work. But, all right, guys, this video is way too long, but hope you guys enjoyed it, man. I'm sorry I haven't been on YouTube very much. Like I let a lot of you guys know, I'm studying for the CPA exam right now. It's taking up my whole entire life. If there's 3 things that are really taken away from my life right now, is sleep, is Netflixing and chilling, and it is YouTube. So I'm sorry to all 3 of those categories, but you guys know I'll always be here during the season. We'll still be streaming all the games together. I'm not going anywhere. Just stay patient with me for a little bit. But thanks guys for watching. If you enjoyed, drop a like for me. Go Jags.